Can you guys hear me? Pwede na, no? Pwede na? So, siguro in-explain ni Bea kung bakit tayo nandito. Kasi technically, we were worried about things like getting arrested for being a vector, di ba? Violating quarantine rules. So, anong nangyari? First of all, I want to share what I'm reading. The Phoenix. This is a book, a two-set book that I got when I first came back to the Philippines. And if you read the part about the 1970s, there are too many things that are too familiar. Medyo nakakatakot siya ng konti. So itong nangyari kanina, ano, gusto niyo Tagalog or English? As if my Tagalog is so good though. Which the arrest warrant was based on, was filed October 2, 2018. I was the only accused, Maria Ressa. And then just minutes before my arraignment, the Department of Justice asked to amend the charge sheet, the information, and they included the company, Rappler Holdings. I mean, look, if there's no better example of how I'm personally being targeted, there you go. Nakalimutan nila yung kumpanya. So I said they forgot the company, and they added it 2 years later. I was arraigned. Our lawyers challenged it because in the Court of Tax Appeals, there was some formal motion that was given so that essentially Rappler Holdings would be given a chance to respond. The judge ruled against us on the motion to quash. She admitted the inclusion of Rappler Holdings, which is the holding company of Rappler Inc. And the arraignment went forward. I pleaded not guilty. The actual charge here is that we didn't pay about 200,000 some pesos in taxes. And again, it goes back to the idea that the only way we could have 5 tax evasion cases is because Rappler Holdings has been reclassified as a dealer in securities. Siguro hindi naman kami mukhang dealer ng securities, no? We are not dealer in securities, we are journalists. And that's why we hold the line. I'll take your questions.
In the four tax cases at Court of Tax Appeals, was RHC included in the information? I don't have to use the mic.
So, if I remember correctly, no, it wasn't. It was also amended. Rappler Holdings. So again, it shows you, I think this shows 2 things. The information or the charge sheet for the criminal charge for the 5 tax evasion charges was written in such a hasty manner that they forgot to put the company. They only included the target individual, Maria Ressa. I can only laugh, but we will fight it. So what happened in the Court of Tax Appeals is that there was a formal motion. The Court of Tax Appeals has 3 judges, right? So they asked that the prosecution, which is the Department of Justice and the BIR, file a formal motion to include the company in the charge. And that happened. In this one, this is a little bit strange because if you notice, this court has shifted and it hasn't really moved in almost 2 years, October 2018. An arrest warrant was filed against me. I posted bail. My travel bond in this court alone so that it allows me to travel is 1 million pesos. 1 million pesos, you know. Of course I'm gonna face these charges because I want their signatures on the line. Because if I don't get justice now, I will get it later because I know that these charges are politically motivated. It is meant to harass, to intimidate. It is meant to be a war of attrition to try to make us afraid to keep reporting. And the best response to it is to keep reporting. I don't know whether to say condolences to ABS-CBN. You know, I think ABS-CBN is a cautionary tale. This is the largest network in the Philippines. It has 11,000 plus employees, a news group of 1,000 people. And just like that, because President Duterte said so, because we have a captured judiciary, sorry, mali yun, because we have a captured legislature, right? Captured legislature, yun lang talagang nakita natin ngayon, di ba? Paano kaya yun? Binasa niyo ba yung working group document? Paano yun nangyari? Anyway, so what happened to ABS-CBN can happen to all of us. So journalists, we have to hold power to account, even if power is consolidating. That's really what's happening now. We need to continue to demand accountability, to demand individual legislators. There's so many things that are coming at us, even as we ourselves are under attack. So I guess part of what I appeal for is, we need to come together, because this is it. This is the battle. The future of Philippine democracy will be decided in the next few months.
Maria, would you like to update on you have an 8 criminal complaints for another cyber libel filed by Philippine. How's that going?
On July 30th, I will have to appear at the Makati prosecutor's office. The man who filed the cyber libel case that Ray Santos and I were convicted in on June 15th filed a second case. This time, he wants me to take down a tweet of an old Philippine Star article that is widely available on the internet. Yet another instance where I'm specifically targeted, even though hundreds, if not thousands, have retweeted that same article from different sources, right? You know which one I'm talking about. It's a 2002 article by the Philippine Star. The Philippine Star, when it was threatened by King, said that because the cyber libel, the cyber crime law is so vast, they wanted to be prudent, so they took it down. But it's still available on the Wayback Machine. And many other people have retweeted that same thing. So that's my next thing. The question really for us was, is this our battle to fight? Should I just not take down the tweet? What do you think? Should I just not take down the tweet? It's easier. Do I want another case? And then I thought, look at the ordinary people who are being subpoenaed. Kids who are afraid. I'm not going to take down that tweet, because if they can do that to a journalist, they can do that to everyone. That's freedom of speech. Let's not voluntarily give up our rights. This is a right. So, July 30th, that's where I'll be. Pero 16th or 17th floor yata to ng Makati. So we're
Beware of the elevator.
yeah, I know the elevator. So of course I'm gonna climb the stairs.
About the request to amend that part, how will this affect the law?
What our lawyer asked for is that Rappler Holdings be given due process. So we were notified in open court today that we're being charged. Rappler Holdings is being charged. I was arraigned. It's kind of bizarre if you think about it, because Rappler Holdings, will it be allowed to file a motion to quash? All of this will be worked out, but I was arraigned on an information that was just amended to include someone else. It's almost like, if I'm being charged with child abuse, because somebody, so if I'm being charged, and then someone else, then the prosecution says, no, let me include Bea in that charge of child abuse. Diba? Parang weird siya. But having said that, I'm not a lawyer. It just seems strange. It's substantive. Again, in the Court of Tax Appeals, there had to be motions that were filed, and that was the due process our lawyers asked for. The judge pushed it forward, and that's okay. Comment in open court, we manifested that we are against it, and then I was arraigned. So I was arraigned on this one information, the same information for all. It's very strange, actually. It's very interesting that Anyway, so I was arraigned on the information. I pleaded not guilty. Not guilty. Sorry.
We know your international engagements. How have all these cases limited your travel? Because I understand you have to request authority from the court each time, and how much have you all?
It's been that way for the last 2 years, maybe. Well, definitely the last year. There are 8 different I have 8 arrest warrants. Guys, grabe, no? I have 8 arrest warrants. Criminal. So that's the goal, diba? The goal is that thing that they said in social media in 2016, journalist equals criminal, becomes a reality in 2020. That's what the social media trolls are saying. I don't, right now, even in the cyber libel case and in branch 46, Judge Montesa has said that I should be allowed to travel. I have to ask for court approvals. I have to give them why. And just like in the Philippines, I'm out on bail. So I just have to give a travel bond. Right now, we're going to post for permission to travel. We posted for permission to travel, and we'll let you know how it goes. But it's hard, right? We already see 4 years down the road how power is consolidating power, how it's death by 1,000 cuts of our democracy. And yet, I have to have faith in the judges. I have to have faith, even if parang nakakasira ng ulo, di ba? Even if you can see things happening, because if you don't have faith, what do you have? Now I sound religious, and I'm not that religious. But, this is it. This is one of those times where I hope that the judges, the men and women who will touch the cases, will be guided by the spirit of the law, and that they realize how much is in their hands, how this is history, and their names will be part of history. The question is, are they going to be on the right side or the wrong side of history?
I just want to clarify if, in addition to the tax cases that you and Rappler have right now, is there a separate investigation by the BIR for other violations?
I believe so. You should ask Lian Buan. There is. Yeah, I believe so. Ang dami, medyo nanganganak sila eh. But again, for me, I take the president on July 8th said that they're compiling. What can you say to something like that? I've set up bureaus for international news groups. We dot the I's and cross the T's, and if this is what they can do to have a veneer of rule of law, then we'll fight it every step of the way. Thank you.
Maria.
Yeah.
Hi. I'm from AFP. With all what's happening right now, ABS has been shut down. Your case is in libel were you were convicted. Are you still confident when you compare the first time your case was filed against you? Are you still confident that you will get through this case, or at least not guilty verdict?
It's shocking where we are right now. It's unthinkable that ABS-CBN is shut down. Unthinkable. I think it's like this perfect storm where the pandemic and the lockdown enabled the government to quickly consolidate power. And the first targets of attacks are journalists, right? The second is these types of laws that are very, that are constrictive. The anti-terror law, I'll be one of the signatories for a petition at the Supreme Court against the anti-terror law, because it is, on the face of it, according to constitutional experts, unconstitutional. Justice Antonio Carpio, former Justice, Senior Associate Justice Carpio, said that this is, in his words, worse than martial law, right? So imagine if we write a story someone doesn't like, a small group of cabinet secretaries can designate you a terrorist and then arrest you without a warrant and jail you for up to 24 days. That violates so many parts of the Constitution, I don't even know where to begin. And the fact that that got through Congress, the Senate and the House, shows you how captured our legislature is. President Duterte is the most powerful leader our nation has ever had, more powerful than Ferdinand Marcos, who declared martial law and was in power for 21 years. President Duterte said this, right? He said, I didn't have to declare martial law. So, and anyway, the answer to your question is, I have no choice but to be optimistic. I will use my right to speak. I will call it out. And it's shocking to me that the Philippines is at this place at this point in time. So it's all up to us, right? I mean, we have support. The international community has organized about 80 groups that are trying to help us, to help independent media. But in the end, it's up to Filipinos. This is up to us. Ano ba talaga ang gusto natin? Di ba? Ano bang klaseng demokrasya ang gusto natin? It's up to every journalist to push back, to hold power to account. And it's up to Filipinos to choose. This is it. Next few months, we'll decide. In some ways, sometimes I feel like mag-declare na nga ng dictatorship. Kasi mas okay yun eh, in the sense that kung mag-declare ng dictatorship, alam naman ng lahat ng tao kung ano yung conditions. Hindi na tayo nagmoro-moro. Sorry, my Tagalog is bad. Let me switch to English. At times it feels like we're a dictatorship masquerading as a democracy with rule of law. It's a masquerade. We want to add substance to that, and we appeal to the legislators. Do your jobs, checks and balances. To the journalists, let's do our jobs to expose. There is so much to expose. And to the people, every generation builds its democracy. Don't take it for granted because we could lose it quickly.
Speaking of President Duterte, in one of his speeches, he called you a fraud. What's your comment on that?
Are we in elementary school? I commented, I tweeted, I responded by saying, perhaps the president is seeing too much fraud around him. Next year, I'll have been a journalist for 35 years. I've been doing this a long time. And my track record is there. It speaks for itself. I've been trying very hard not to attack the government. That's why now we do hold the line. But I think we're getting beyond the point. We actually have to say the government is making moves that are just blatantly against democracy. And I think we have to call that out. Remember, when it is a battle for facts, journalists are activists. So we need to do that. So let me respond. Look at reality. Look at what I've accomplished. Look at what we've tried to do in these horrendous circumstances, right? Sorry, I don't really, it's hard to attack, no? I think the president should focus on COVID-19 instead of consolidating power and name-calling of journalists. I'm doing my job. Just look at my track record and leave us alone. Let us do our jobs.
Last question, President Sorry. In the same speech, they said that give us time to expose that you're a fraud. It's something that he is hinting that there's another investigation or probably a case against the Rappler or Ressa.
Look, the government is all powerful. It is all powerful, and it feels like every part of the state has been focused on us, and we're not stopping because you don't give up ground, right? There's a part of me that wants to say, bring it. But the other part says, I run a company, and all I'm doing is shining the light. And I think we now have help from the international community. I think the Philippines cares about the international community, particularly in a time of COVID, because we will need help. Sorry, it's been 4 years. If that's the best you can do, bring it. Okay na, you might make me ano already eh. Ibagsak.
Thank you guys.